Good morning, AP students. So it's Tuesday, and I'm going to try to do these things as often as possible. And since, early on I'm usually very motivated to do something new, this makes 2 days in a row. As you can see, I changed venues a little bit. That's exciting. I didn't quite do my hair, but here we are. So hope you enjoyed the first video. If you didn't get a chance to check it out, I would say do that first before you watch this one. The couple things I just wanted to touch on today. First of all, hope everybody's doing all right. Hope everybody's healthy, staying away from social settings as much as possible. Um, I want to put out a little bit later today, if I think about it. I want to put out a couple of different resources of some really smart people who have been doing a good job covering kind of updates and things related to public health. I have a couple follows that I think are really important at a time like this. So if I think about it later on, I'll try to put those up on my Twitter feed so you can check out those people. Um, Second thing, I just had this idea, or not that long ago. Sorry, I keep looking at my phone for my list of things to talk about. Um, Second thing I thought about was, I mean, we probably all have friends who are, servers or who work in, restaurants and bars, and they're probably going to feel it a little bit more than others. I had a conversation with my brother yesterday who lives in Denver, and he works largely in like live sound production. So he does a lot of like live events that include a lot of people. So as you can imagine, like all those things are being canceled, and he's, was talking to me about how it's going to be a really big struggle to financially kind of keep things afloat. So one idea that I had just to help the people of like restaurants and bars and people who are largely rely on tips. If you would normally go out to eat like once a week or something, try to like maybe order carry out, which will provide the restaurant and the owner of the restaurant with some money. But also like if you have a server friend or you have somebody who relies on tips, take whatever amount you would have normally tipped on your carry out and just Venmo them that money. I thought that'd be a really cool idea, to send somebody who kind of relies on that cash and just say, hey, this would have been my tip from my takeout that I got. That way you're kind of helping the business, but you're also helping the individuals who rely on those tips. So just a thought that I had. Again, everybody's situation is a little different financially, but if you can, help out those who might be struggling the most right now. So moving on to Native Son, because Maddie definitely needs deadlines. I said by today, hopefully you'll have read the first section. And I know I started talking a little bit about the first section yesterday, but I want to dig in a little bit, just like my own personal experience with this book, because I think it helps frame how we view the piece overall. So the first time I read this book, I was in college, and I read it in a class that was called a readings conference class. And a readings conference class was basically just what it sounds like. You would read, and it was a big discussion. So think of it like a book club. It was a really enlightening class. I read a lot of things that I had not read before and had discussions with people who I probably would never have met. But I always think back when I read Native Son to a student who was in the class who read Native Son, and he was kind of very stereotypically a white privileged male who had gone to a private school. And every conversation that we had about this, he would kind of stifle the really important social conversations because he wanted to say, I don't feel any sympathy for Bigger. Bigger has his opportunity to have a job, and he threw it away, and he gets anything that's coming to him, and he's a murderer and he's a criminal. And I think what he was missing was kind of the more complex social conversations that Richard Wright wants us to have. He wanted to kind of put a dead end and a stop at those conversations because he was able to label Bigger as a criminal off the bat. And by labeling somebody as a criminal, you can kind of like dehumanize them and say like, oh, well, you get anything that comes to you because you made this choice to commit a criminal act. And so I always think back to him, and I think that was really a stifling it was a conversation stifler, I should say, when it came to understanding the more complex issues that Native Son is supposed to get us to think about, right? We've talked a lot about the period of time in America between, the official ending of slavery and, maybe the Civil Rights Act and even up until today. And we've talked about how that almost 100-year period of time was one of the most uncomfortable and nebulous and morally objectionable in our country's history, because we told people that they were free and that they had opportunities and things like that, but we didn't actually provide those opportunities as a country. And so obviously this piece was written in that time period, and Richard Wright was very socially aware of the barriers that existed for people of color at the time. So I do want us to be able to have those conversations about morality, and I do want us to be able to have those conversations about Bigger and his character, and some of the thoughts that he has, and obviously the actions that he takes, the way that he decides to handle his situation when it comes to kind of accidentally killing or murdering, however you want to phrase it, of Mary. And the one thing you can't say about Bigger is that he doesn't think through the situation as clearly as one could. He thinks about options, he thinks about considerations, he thinks about what if statements, and he really kind of realizes that as a black man in this society who has been responsible for the death of a white woman, that he needs to do everything he can to cover it up, because he doesn't see there as being an option where he might receive some sort of justice. And by that I mean he would be treated in the way as if he was intentionally and in a premeditated fashion committing a murder. Whereas I think anybody who reads this piece knows that's not what his intentions were. Were his actions objectionable? I think absolutely. But I think that, when it comes to those areas of gray or that nuance that we talk about, especially in literature, I think this falls squarely in that area of gray where, his intentions were to show up and work. Obviously, he got way too deep with Mary and Jan as far as, partying and drinking, and it led to where it eventually led to. So again, I do want to continue to have those conversations, and I'm going to encourage you, if you do watch this video, I'm going to encourage you to leave a class comment. And now I'm basically turning into a YouTuber. Like, leave a class comment about how you view what Bigger did, and also how he handled the situation. And again, it doesn't have to be a dissertation length, but just give some general thoughts about how he handled the situation and where we're going from here, because I think that's an important conversation to have. I don't know that I have anything else to talk about. I think I'm going to hop on and start reading the next section that we talked about for, I believe, Thursday. Sorry, I don't have that in front of me. But if you have any questions, if you want to contribute anything, I know I've heard from a couple of you via Remind or on a class comment. That's perfectly acceptable. I'd like to be able to stay in touch. One last thing, I also did retweet a member of the college board. His last name is Packer. I think it's Trevor Packer, who is really involved in the decision making at the college board, and it looks like they are exploring options to not only maybe change or adjust testing dates, but also to allow maybe students to test from home. And so I did retweet that from my personal account. So if you want to check that out, that's something that I think they're having discussions about right now. Obviously, like a lot of things, I don't think an official decision is going to be made for a while, but it's at least something that they're understanding could be an issue. So for now, I'll say let's just stay on top of our reading. Let's make sure we're building that base of literature that we can pull from for our question 3. Take a peek at that list of question 3s that I posted. There's a wide range of questions you can choose from, and I would say, pick a piece that you're fairly comfortable with, and start thinking about how you might want to address that question, based on the prompt itself, and also kind of the individual conversations we've had about our strengths and weaknesses with writing. So again, you got any questions, please reach out to me. Hope everyone's doing okay. Very side note, I think I'm going to get out on the golf course today. Don't worry, I'll wear gloves, I'll fist bump instead of high-fiving, I'll stay away from people, and it's all right. I'll be in the fairway and they'll be in the rough. So, all right, I hope you guys have a great day, and we will try to talk to you tomorrow. Bye.